Loading animations are important, especially in web design when the page is loading, because they indicate to the user that something is about to happen and they should know that they should wait for that animation to end. Hey designer, Alex here, welcome to the channel, and in today's video we're going to use Adobe XD to create this spinning loading animation. And what's great about it is that you can set it up to spin endlessly, basically as long as your page is loading, and it's really simple and easy to create. So let's get started. So to get started, I have an artboard of 800 by 800, and what I'm going to do is create a circle using this ellipse tool. I'm going to hold my shift key, and you can draw it, for example, at 250 with 250. That's about good, and I can position it in the center like so. What I can also do is remove the fill, include a border, and for the border color I'm just going to choose a light gray, so DDD for example, press enter or return, and I'm going to increase the size of the stroke to, for example, 20, and make sure it's in the center like so. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate it, so hit Ctrl D, and I'm going to call this one spinner. And I'm going to call this one back, for example, because it's going to stay at the back at all times. And what I can also do at this point is lower the opacity to 0. And for the spinner, I can include one color. So for example, maybe I want to choose a nice blue color, so 3EC6FF, for example, like so. Now what you can do next is simply double click inside until you can see these points. And you can simply select these 2 points, hold your Alt or Option key and hit delete. And what it's going to do is simply delete that point. Now, I'm not recommending that you do that at the start. Maybe you should play around with these settings. And what I found out is center stroke, round cap, and round join work well for this particular example. So once again, you can select these two, hit Alt and then delete, and as you can see now we have these nice rounded corners, and I think they work quite well using this example. So what I'm actually going to do is select these two and then hit delete, so that we are just left with these two. And if I click on the back and increase the opacity, you can see how that looks like in this particular example. But the back is not really important because it's going to contain that spinner animation. So what we are actually going to do now is create a text. So using the text tool, you can simply type in anywhere. So I'm just going to type in loading, and I'm going to select it and use something like Open Sans, which is a free Google font, and you can download it from fonts.google.com. I'm going to position it in the center like so. And for the time being, I'm just going to include the opacity back, just so that I can see where the center of my artboard is and where the circle is located. So I'm going to move it like so, and now I'm going to create my dots, which are going to change right here. So I'm going to hold my shift key, and I'm going to remove the border and use the border color like so for the fill. And I'm going to, for example, use 6 by 6. I found that this size works well with this particular example. And I'm going to select these two and simply position this dot in the center. If you don't like how that looks like because it's way too high, for example, maybe we can just move it to somewhere around here. And then simply move it, for example, 1 or 2 pixels, so it's better aligned with the bottom edge of our text like so. And I'm going to move it right here until it meets on the right edge with our text. Hit Shift and right arrow key to move it 10 pixels to the right, then hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, Shift and to the right, and then simply 1 more pixel, so that we are left with 5 pixels in between. Control or Command D and then duplicate it 1 more time, make sure they are on the same distance, and then simply call this circle 3. Click on this one, this is circle 2, and finally this is circle 1, like so. And I like to simply order them like so, and I'm going to group them and call everything text, but I'm going to move loading as well. So hold Shift, select everything, hit Ctrl G, call this one text, and this is going to be our spinner. So select these two, hit Ctrl G to group them, and it's going to be our spinner like this. And what I'm going to do now is from the spinner, I'm going to reduce the opacity back like so. And that's basically it for the designing part. Now it's time to animate them, and you can't really do this with components because for the master component, when you want to send it to the state number 1, you cannot do it at the moment using time trigger, and time trigger is what we are going to use in this example, so that's why we need to duplicate these artboards. Now to do that, simply select the artboard, hit Ctrl D, and what I'm going to do in this one is simply select a spinner and enter 360 for the degrees right here, so it's going to load 360 degrees. And on this first example, we are going to select these two dots, so simply hold shift when you're selecting them and simply hover right here, hold shift one more time and simply rotate them like this. That's going to be our first example. And for the second example, simply hit Ctrl D one more time, and I'm going to select the spinner, enter 360 one more time just in case, and then simply select circle number 1, circle number 2, like so, or this is circle number 3 in this case, and simply rotate them like this, because in previous examples we switched the places, so number 3 came to number 2, that's why we have them right here. And that's basically it for the designing part. You can play around with the opacity of loading text, so for example it's going to be 0 right here, 100 right here, and so on. You can even change the colors, and in my original example I showed you how you can change the artboard color right here. So you can click, for example, 323232 to get this nice gray, almost black color, and we can use this if you want to, or I'm just going to simply leave it at white for this particular example. Now to connect everything, hit prototype, click on this first one, connect it with loader number 1. We are going to use time, auto animate, ease in out, and duration of 1 second. Simply do the same for this one, so time, auto animate, ease in out 1 second, and now connect this last one to the first one. And we're going to use time, auto animate, ease in out, but duration we're going to leave it at 0 seconds. Now to do that, simply type 0.0, press enter, and it's going to leave you with 0 seconds. Now let's preview this, like so. And as you can see, it keeps loading, keeps spinning, and these dots are changing. Now there are many different ways that you can incorporate this. You can lower and increase the opacity of these dots, which are changing left and right. You can change the color of the spinner itself if you want to, or you can simply lower and increase the opacity of the loading text if that's something that you want. But that's basically it for this video, and as you can see, it's really simple and easy to create. Once you get the hang of it, you can really play around with these different settings and achieve the different results that you want. Thank you for watching the video. If you found it useful, make sure to hit that like button. I upload videos every single week on design, freelancing, passive income techniques, and more. So if you don't want to miss that content, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.